From Long Island to Albany and to Buffalo, we are at no loss for stories breaking all around the region. For insight, we turn to Jonathan Lentz, editor-in-chief of City and State magazine. Jonathan, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start out with today's biggest story. Jury selection began today in the corruption trial against former Nassau County Executive Edward Mangano. Mangano was accused of taking bribes and kickbacks in an influence peddling case on the island. His wife, Linda, will also be on trial, along with former Oyster Bay Town Supervisor John Venditto. All three have pleaded not guilty to an indictment alleging extortion, bribery, and more. So, John, what's happening on Long Island?
Sure, it's a really interesting case, just the latest in a string of corruption cases on Long Island. This one centers on Long Island restaurateur Harendra Singh, who allegedly provided bribes, a no-show job for the county executive's, former county executive's wife, vacations, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, the defendants all say they are innocent, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, with so much money that seems to be flowing around Long Island, what kind of influence was looking to be bought in this corruption trial? What was the hope? What were the gains to get from perhaps influencing Mr. Mangano and, of course, his wife?
You know, what prosecutors have said and have documented is that there were these loan guarantees that would be provided to this restaurant owner, which they say is completely illegal, is something that wouldn't be allowed. In fact, allegedly, the county executive found a different lawyer, went outside the county's legal counsel to find a new lawyer who would arrange this for this Long Island restaurateur. So it appears pretty shady.
Well, of course, with the Mangano trial getting started on Long Island, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the other big trial happening in state politics, and that, of course, is with Joe Percoco. Now, regardless of what happens with Mr. Percoco and the outcome of this trial, what do we know about what's being alleged? Because in the article that your magazine recently laid out, it really sounds like there was almost a gross amount of lack of oversight or supervision of what was going on in the executive branch.
Well, yeah, what's really interesting, actually, both with the Mangano case and this Percoco case, are the political ramifications. Going back to the Mangano case for a second, the person who has allegedly been giving these bribes also allegedly gave bribes to Mayor Bill de Blasio. So he has a lot to watch here politically. Ed Mangano is a close ally of Governor Andrew Cuomo, even though Mangano's a Republican, Cuomo's a Democrat. Pivot to the Percoco case, regardless of the verdict there, it really ties directly to the governor. And there have been some ethics complaints that came out of the testimony that'll be really interesting to watch. Most notably, Joe Percoco, who was the governor's right-hand man, while he had left the administration, he was still showing up in the governor's offices. He was working on the campaign, but still seeming to run things, which is a real question mark. Was he allowed to do that? Was he following the ethics guidelines?
Well, of course, with Governor Cuomo being tied to everything in New York State, he is facing a challenge now from the left, from the actress who is best known for her role as Miranda on Sex and the City, Cynthia Nixon. Was the governor right to laugh off this possible challenger?
Yeah, it was interesting. He made a joke that maybe Vladimir Putin's behind her getting in the race. And to be clear, she hasn't jumped in yet. She made some key hires. It looks like she is getting closer. But let's go back 4 years. Zephyr Teachout, who was in someone people didn't know the name of it at all. She got in fairly late and actually ended up getting a third of the vote in the Democratic primary. So Cynthia Nixon, again, has that name recognition. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Well, stay tuned.
Well, of course, Nixon is coming with a very strong background in education advocacy, and I understand she's also going to be looking into issues like fixing the beleaguered MTA. But is there any indication of how well that's going to play throughout the rest of the state?
Sure. And I guess going back 4 years as well, when Zephyr Teachout really had some momentum and performed fairly well, didn't beat the governor in the primary. Hydrofracking was a big issue. Common Core was a big issue. Those are in the past right now. So there's, maybe less vulnerability for the governor. That said, when the governor criticized her for being a celebrity and saying, well, if maybe Brad Pitt should run or Angelina Jolie should run, we've seen Donald Trump, who is something of a celebrity, surprise a lot of people and actually win. And as you noted, Cynthia Nixon does have some background. She's paid attention to education issues. Apparently she's reading up on the subway, among other things.
Of course, with all these corruption trials, I do have to ask, we saw across the river when there was the Bridgegate trial and how the people in then Governor Christie's inner circle helped to, unfortunately, but bring down Governor Christie and end his political career, even though he was not officially charged with anything in that trial. Is there a chance that anything going on with these corruption trials that are so close to the governor's inner circle could actually stick to him and prevent him from moving on to another term or even higher office?
They might. I mean, part of it's just Cuomo is running for a third term, and politicians typically, they do fine through the first term and the second term. You get into the third term, you've been in office long enough, there's enough that adds up or things do stick, which is what happened with Chris Christie. Mm-hmm. On the Republican side, he really seemed like a strong contender for president. Obviously, Bridgegate came up, other things came up. He became, by the time he left office, the least popular governor in the state. So Governor Andrew Cuomo running for a third term, is he staying on too long? Is there a risk that something like this will stick? It could happen. Again, as you noted, he does look like he wants to run for president in 2020, but some of these things could come back to hurt him.
It seems like there's every few years we'll see a whole bunch of corruption trials either coming out of Albany or perhaps New York City, or of course Long Island being New York City adjacent. And then there's always the follow-up with the call for more ethics reform coming from Albany. Now, the last time we saw that happened, nothing passed through the legislature, but is there a chance that this time something could actually happen on the ethics front?
I wouldn't bet on it. You also have the Dean Skelos retrial, the Sheldon Silver retrial. Those were very high-profile trials in recent years, and nothing major really seemed to happen as a result of those. I think it's really, if voters aren't paying attention enough, if they're not going to vote people out of office, not much is going to change.
Well, it's ironic that Governor Cuomo suggested that it was Russian trolls who were putting Cynthia Nixon up to her run for governor, but there have been articles written that there actually were Russians trying to interfere with suppressing the electorate in Buffalo and keeping people from actually getting out and getting to the polls. Now, we know at the federal level, so far there's been sort of a hands-off approach to this issue, but do we know if there's anything happening at the state level to prevent this kind of meddling from happening in New York?
That is something new, actually, in the governor's agenda this year, that in addition to some of his election reforms he's called for year after year, he's saying, look, we need to protect against this. There is some legislation pending in Albany that might strengthen the state's abilities to combat this.
All right, well, Jonathan, I want to thank you again for joining us on the program and helping to guide us through the seemingly endless quagmire of New York State politics.
Thank you.
Thank you.